Ringside Reality.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ringside Reality, the world's hottest new wrestling podcast, guaranteed to be 3 times as exciting as Raw. I am your host, Chris.
And I'm also your host, Johnny.
And we're going to go ahead and just shoot the breeze with some wrestling topics and hope everyone enjoys.
Did you see the new episode of Camp WWE?
No.
That was actually pretty funny, man. This first episode kind of fell flat for me, but there was a couple episodes in the new, couple of parts in the new episode, that was really funny. Steve Austin, the Steve Austin character, is not actually Steve Austin, but it's like the character of him is fucking hilarious.
I want to watch it.
He swears so much,
good.
man. And he's just like, there's a couple of points I just busted laughing because he's just flipping people off all the time. And Nikki Bella's like, "Who are you flipping off?" And he's like, "Oh, nobody. I got a fuck you reflex."
Is that what he said?
Yeah, he's like, "I got a fuck you reflex." He just can't put his fingers down. He's always got his middle fingers up. Vince McMahon is fucking hilarious in it. Vince is like probably the star of the show. Vince is, and he voices him, and I can't believe it.
That's kind of... Well, I've never seen it. I haven't... Well, the first one I was about to watch, but I fell asleep. But Seth Green directs it, right?
Yeah, him and the whole crew that did like Robot Chicken and that kind of stuff. But yeah, the show is like I said, the first episode kind of fell flat for me. I didn't really... There's a couple of parts that Vince had that were pretty funny, but the second episode did it for me. And there's still a few spots that really fall flat. Some of the jokes are just like duds.
It's like anything else.
But like, there's a couple of the jokes that like you'll find yourself laughing out loud at.
I've been laughing at the Agent Christian show a little bit. Like the last one, I laughed at. The first one is the same way with Camp WWE. You just said like, hey, the first one fell flat.
Yeah. I felt the same way
the
with
first
the
Agent Christian show. Yeah, the first one I was like, well, whatever. But 3-4 episodes in, like, and to watch that show, you really got to be a smart mark. Like, you really...
Oh, yeah.
Like, everything you're doing is just so fucking it's in tune with the backstage environment of the WWE. So...
Well, like, I was showing a couple of people the Camp WWE, just people I know that watch, like, Robot Chicken, Family Guy, that kind of deal. Because I was like, oh, it's a funny show. Yeah, it was Curtis, my buddy Curtis and my friend Chad. And I was trying to explain to him the Agent Christian show and what that was, like a wrestling sketch comedy show kind of deal. But I didn't even play it for him because I know, like, if I played it for him, they're not going to get half the jokes that was in it. Because they're insider jokes. So when they're talking about, like, will WWE talk about the company that AJ Styles worked for the last 10 years, right? And then they show a picture of, like, Test Albert and Trish Stratus, like TNA. And you're like, oh, now I get that joke because it's TNA and he wrestled for TNA. They have no clue who the hell TNA is.
Dude,
like,
I am... Like, this is the sad part. Like, so I'm a huge wrestling fan, obviously. You're a huge wrestling fan, right? Yeah. Obviously, we're above average wrestling fans. I haven't watched TNA Impact, like, a full episode in...
Years?
6 years?
Yeah, me too.
So, like, and I mean... The laugh at that's kind of funny because you're like, well, there's no competition. But, like, they don't give me a reason to watch, so I'm not going to watch it. So, I mean, like, you watch, like, what do you watch on a regular basis? So I watch NXT on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
I watch Raw on Mondays, which is, honestly, makes me want to just hang myself in the fucking closet. I don't watch SmackDown because it hasn't given me a reason to watch SmackDown.
Yeah, I'm not a big, I don't know, there's something about SmackDown. I catches it every now and then.
Well, like for something like have a decent match or something, but I don't know. I go back to last week. Like we had a thing last week where we talked about talent, in the WWE right now and how there's a lot of talent. Remember we had that conversation?
Yeah.
And how like Zayn and Owen. Now I've had time to reflect on it. I take it back. These guys are not until they prove themselves on the big stage. No, not for me. Like, you can have all the fucking talent in the world when you wrestle in front of gyms. And like Jerry Lawler used to say. Remember Jerry Lawler with ECW? He used to be like,
the Bingo Hall?
Yeah, Bingo Hall. I got that same mentality. Unless you become a star on a big stage. Like, we talked about the rosters going back to, like, Jericho, Angle, Benoit, fucking all these guys. Versus Zayn, Owens, and the... Like, these guys got to prove it to me. I want to see. I want to see.
Owens, I can see a little
Owens
bit,
has
like,
yeah, but Owens has it. You know that.
Yeah, because I mean, did you hear what Jim Cornette said about him?
Jesus, I haven't listened to Jim Cornette in years. He's a fucking bitter old man.
Apparently, Jim Cornette said that this is what he said it a few years ago. Actually, this is not new. Something new he said, but he was asked about Kevin Owens when Kevin Owens was in Ring of Honor, and he said that Kevin Owens will never wrestle in front of any more than 300 people.
What?
That's what he said. He's like, Kevin Owens doesn't have the style or the look to wrestle in front of any more than 300 people.
You do realize that Kevin Owens wrestled with the Intercontinental belt at WrestleMania in front of 101,000 people.
Well, that's what the meme I seen on Facebook or whatever I seen it. That's what it said. It's like Jim Cornette says that this, right? And then it's like, here's a picture of Kevin Owens in Dallas, like wrestling at WrestleMania in front of like over 100,000 people, right? So that he proved him wrong. In my opinion, he's proven that he can do it.
I think like out of the bunch that came in, like, you know how there's been a flock of new. So here's the casual story for every wrestling fan that we don't see, because wrestling fans like us talking on a podcast don't see this stuff. But I'm talking to my friend Brett Baker. You know Brett, right?
Yeah.
And he's telling me about his old man watches wrestling. His dad watches wrestling. And he was watching wrestling at the Rumble, Fastlane, blah, blah, blah. And WrestleMania came, and of course, this WrestleMania. Now, his old man's been watching wrestling for 25 years. Religiously, almost. But not inside Smart Mark. He's been watching...
Yeah, he's not on the
no,
forums.
He watches it like
you
watch
stuff.
Nashville Scandal, Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, whatever. You know, like just some kind of TV show. Like, you know, you just like the show. You don't really go in on IMDb and investigate the ratings and go on Metacritic and fucking Rotten Tomatoes. No, you just watch it, right? So, Baker says to me like 3 days ago, he's like, my old man called me on Sunday. He's like, have you been watching wrestling? And Baker's like, well, kind of, whatever. Like, 'cause Baker watches wrestling. Little bit. And he's like, I haven't watched it since WrestleMania. And I was like, why is that? And this is casual. He says, because my old man said he turned it on the next night, and he didn't know who half the people were. And I'm like, there's the fucking problem. Right there in a nutshell.
Well, we talked about
He's
it
been
before.
watching wrestling 20
nobody
years.
Built up, right?
20 years he's been watching wrestling. 20 years. And he turns it on after WrestleMania, and all these NXT guys come fucking through the woodwork. But he doesn't know who they are because he doesn't have WWE Network. He doesn't have WWE Network. He just watches wrestling, like casually. And he tunes out because these guys have like nothing to offer him. So he said, well, I haven't watched in 3 weeks. He's like, I don't know who half the guys are anymore. And that's when I was like, see, now there's a problem. Because isn't it so true that the Cenas, the Takers, the Austins, the Rocks, they're all household names, and they bring them in for these big shows, and everybody complains, going, well, that should be like Damien Sandow's spot. Austin's taken away from a young guy's spot. If Austin wasn't out there, it would have been his spot. You kind of need him, don't you?
I believe that too.
Guys like
I believe you need guys like Austin, Shawn Michaels, Mick Foley. Because
what happens when you don't have them, right?
So it's just any other wrestling show, really. Like they bring the star power and the household name in to draw viewers in. People give Vince that kind of criticism that when ratings start to drop, he'll bring in The Rock or Brock Lesnar or someone in and like just give a boost to the ratings. But a show like WrestleMania, you need that. You need those big names to show up. You needed The Rock to be there. You needed these guys to be there because there's cash cows. Like The Rock has legitimately become a bigger star than anybody could even imagine. Like we said before, like back in 97 or 96 when he debuted as Rocky Maivia, would you think he was going to be the biggest movie star in the world? Hell no. You know what I mean? But now he is, and Vince knows he is. Vince realizes that, listen, we gave him that platform. He almost really kind of owes us a little bit, and he still loves the wrestling business. He's going to come back and help us, give us that star power we need just when we need it. I don't mean he needs to come back and have the fucking title and be like, main event spot. But he can come in and I don't really agree with him beating the Wyatts in like 6 seconds or whatever. I don't really agree with that. The spot still should have been there. I don't know if it should have been that exactly and make the Wyatts look like a bunch of fools. But I do agree with that spot being there, that Rock comes out and Rock bottoms and people's elbows, one of them, and then that's it. It technically shouldn't have been the match in my opinion, but that's just another, story. But what you're saying is true. Like, they need to be there for the casual fans. For example, this is a good example. Like you said, with Brett Baker's dad who watches wrestling. Same with my parents. My parents are the people who got me into watching wrestling since I was a kid.
Well, your parents are pretty much casuals too, I would say, what?
Same deal. So I was talking to my dad about wrestling or whatever. We were going to watch a pay-per-view or whatever. And this is a little while ago. And he just mentioned to me that he hates Kevin Owens. Hates him. Mom and Dad hate him.
That's
right?
good.
So they're like, we can't stand that Kevin Owens guy. And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, I love Kevin Owens, right? And it's just because I know who he is and he's a good wrestler or whatever. They love Roman Reigns. My dad, no, you're going to die laughing at this. This is
You
back
gotta fucking
before.
joke with me, man. You gotta be fucking joking with me.
They like Ryback. Right? So Dad was like, oh yeah, Mom was like, I likes that Ryback guy. You know what I mean? So like,
You know what's funny though is
the
like,
thing is,
wrestling
though,
has a way
she's
that
a,
it can
she's a
fool people.
casual fan, right? Like,
Yeah, but like after 20 something years, it's like some people catch on, some people get caught, and others don't. So we're the ones that like watched it, caught on to it.
To bring
and
it full circle. So to bring it full circle, like when I was a young kid, I liked the Ultimate Warrior, right? So to the casual kid fan out there now who likes Ryback, the Ryback is today's Ultimate Warrior, right? He's gonna be remembered as like, all right, that guy was a garbage wrestler, right? He doesn't have it. I'm not gonna say Ryback is his biggest star as Ultimate Warrior. He's not gonna be in the Hall of Fame or nothing probably, but that's, you know what I'm saying. He's in the company. There are kids who like him. We just don't see it because we're such big fans and we know the ins and outs and we're,
Well, it kind of sucks for us a little bit.
But like, there's kids who love John Cena. Like, you know what I mean? My niece is 4 years old and she knows what John Cena says. She does the whole "you can't see me" with her hand in her face and everything. She's 4, right? She doesn't know that Cena's like, like this love-hate relationship where like people hate him and some people love him. She sees the flashy colors and sees that John Cena is there, right? The same with Ryback. They come out, they see that this guy's the good guy, this is the bad guy. They see stuff in black and white like how it used to be when kayfabe was around, right? So back in the 80s, we had Hulk Hogan versus the Iron Sheik, right? Nobody cared if the Iron Sheik was a better wrestler than Hulk Hogan. Nobody gave a shit. Iron Sheik was the bad guy. Hulk Hogan was the good guy. We want Hulk Hogan to win. It didn't matter who the better wrestler was. So nowadays, they see the same deal. They see Kevin Owens versus Ryback. Guess what? They want to see Ryback win because he's the good guy. And Kevin Owens is the bad guy. They want to see, if it's Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is the bad guy. Roman Reigns is the face. They want to see Roman Reigns win. They don't care that Seth Rollins is a better wrestler or that Kevin Owens is a better wrestler. Whoever's a better wrestler. They see black and white. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? As simple as that.
Well, I agree 100%. And to be honest with you, I don't really care either. Like, I don't really give a fuck. Like, it's not about... Like, Rollins is awesome. But I don't really care about any of that stuff. Like, wrestling has made money off one thing. Heel, face, good guy, bad guy, sell a story, make sure the good guy can't get the bad guy. Eventually, the bad guy fucking just takes over, but at the pay-per-view, the good guy wins. It's been the same story for, like, 50 years.
Well, it's been the same story for, like, all of time. Almost every single story ever written is, like, the good guy comes out at the end, right?
Anyone that watches wrestling these days, honestly, they're catering to the internet. Like, what they're doing right now is not going to work. It's not going to work. They're going to try it because they're going off, like, the NXT philosophy, which is people like this. Yes, they do. But there's 1,200 people in that audience.
Well,
1,200.
They flip-flop so
but
much,
you
right?
you got to produce something on USA Network, and you got to put it out to 3, 4, 5, 6 million people. What you're doing is not going to work. I don't think it's going to work. Like, everything, the WWE, the new era might as well be called the smart era. the indie. I guess it's the indie era.
That's what I would call it, too, the indie era. Definitely.
Yeah, because it's been overtaken with guys with no personality.
They're all indie stars.
Yeah, they're all indie stars, but they don't have, like, dude, they can wrestle. That's it. They don't have mic skills. They don't have charisma. They don't have personality. They don't have it. They just go out and wrestle. And that doesn't grab anybody but a wrestling fan. The wrestling fan will tune in and go, yeah, this is cool. But the rest of the fucking world's going, well, I don't really give a fuck. Steve Austin wasn't a wrestler. Steve Austin was a guy that stood up and kicked his boss in the balls.
Well, he was a character.
Told him to fuck off. Gave him the middle finger and started him in the middle of Madison Square Garden. That was his gimmick. He was like, wow. And people were like, wow, this is cool.
Well, because you lived vicariously through him. You could like...
What do you think that's happened now? Is wish... But what everybody wanted, like, it kills the business. Is because wrestling fans think too much. They're too smart almost. They think they are. But their idea of wrestling is going to kill the business because it's... What they're doing right now is basically the indie generation, which I think it is. And it's not going to work. But that's what we want. So the last 5 years, when it was Cena on the top, when it was Undertaker and Shawn Michaels fighting at WrestleMania for the title, and everyone was going, well, why don't Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose main event? Because Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose don't hold cachet. They don't have that main event status. So what's happened is they moved on from that, and now they're giving the ball to the young guys. But I honestly don't think it's gonna work, man. I think that you need those guys. Like, you need to bring back the Takers. You need to sell pay-per-views. The Lesners. Lesnar sells shows.
Well, see, the thing is, you gotta keep those guys around while building new talent. So, for example...
Well, do you want... Like, listen, if it was up to the IWC, this is what would happen. WrestleMania 33, next year, wherever it is, the main event of WrestleMania 33, wet dream for IWC would be Sami Zayn versus AJ Styles.
Oh, jeez.
Now, we've watched wrestling for how long?
Oh,
you actually fucking think in your goddamn head that that's the best main event possible?
God, no, not the main event. It'd be a good match on the card, like mid-card.
No, but they would want, I swear to God, I've read enough of it, they would want Owens versus Zayn for the title. They'd want AJ versus Zayn for the IC title. They wouldn't want, because it's in their own little fucking world, but nobody thinks about actually selling the product. I think it's a huge problem.
Well, see, they need to do what they did in the 90s, where, like, when they had Hogan and Lex Luger and these guys. While these guys... Well, but he was a big star at the time, right? So while these...
Luger?
At the time. I mean, he had the whole...
He was fucking hard.
He
failed horribly.
Yeah, but he was still, like... Even when he showed up in WCW, it was a big deal. Right?
Yeah, but, like, you do understand that the Lex Express that he had is the definition of a failed superstar.
Yeah.
So once someone says they're going to be the Lex Express, that means Vince pushed you, you failed horribly. Let's move on.
Well, that's why the finish of that SummerSlam was him winning by count out or DQ or
whatever. Oh, that was horrible.
And
that's why the finish of the Royal Rumble the next year was Vince didn't know what he was going to do. It was going to be down to him and Brett. They were like, well, let's see. Remember when they both went over at the same time?
Yeah.
And then they both put their hands up in the air and everyone cheered Brett and everyone hated Luger. And they were like, well, let's take Brett. But Luger failed. The Lex Express one, that's the biggest bomb in history wrestling, probably. Well, like you said, SummerSlam, that count out. And he was celebrating.
That's what I'm saying. They celebrated like he won the title. They had confetti and balloons and stuff. And...
Oh, fuck yeah, that confetti and everything. All the roster came in and everything, didn't they?
Yep. Everybody came out and put him up on his shoulders, like Tatanka, and everybody had him up on on their shoulders, like walking him around the ring and stuff. Yeah. Well, he won, but by count out or whatever it was.
So he didn't win.
So he didn't win the title, but he was. They treated him like he was. But back to my point is that they still had stars, household names, right? While they were building up their new stars, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, and these guys. So what they need to do now, I think this is what's lost. This is why it's not going to work. They're not properly building these guys. So, for example, to get back to your point with, like, the night after WrestleMania, they brought in all these new people. Nobody had a clue who they were, unless you watched NXT. The problem was they didn't introduce them correctly, in my opinion. So when Enzo and Cass come out, if you didn't watch NXT, you had no idea who they were. Now, there was a lot of people there. They got a good pop because people knew who they were in the stadium. But, like, why not build them and explain who they are, right? Am I supposed to assume that I know who the Vaudevillains are? Am I supposed to assume I know who, let's say, Apollo Crews? Like, give them a vignette. Build them up. They're building up fucking Primo and Epico from Puerto Rico, over the hell they're doing with that, for weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't care. I don't really care about Primo and Epico. They already had like 4 chances. Fuck them. Why aren't they building Enzo and Cass or the Vaudevillains in these vignettes for 4 or 5 weeks, then introduce them? People will be looking forward to it. Don't give away who it is. Give it these like little hints about there's a new, like, they're like, oh, well, there's a tag team coming, a new tag team. They're probably coming from NXT. Which one is it going to be? Who's getting called up next? Then you build it up. People care then when they come out. Not when they just show up and everybody's like, oh, so I guess they're here now. Well, that's new. You know what I mean? Like,
makes no sense.
Yeah.
Remember Dana Brooke last week on Raw?
Yeah, don't even get started on that. They didn't even fucking introduce her. She just ran out and attacked her. She could have been somebody from the goddamn like ring crew for all I knew. Like,
apparently they were just big tag team in NXT.
Well, yeah, but nobody fucking knows that. They didn't even say what her name was. They literally did not say what her name was on Raw.
No, they didn't even. And then remember, I was texting. I was like, well, maybe after the commercial, they'll come back with like a little 3-4 minute like this is what just happened.
Like Dana Brooke just attacked. Yeah.
No. All that happened was R-Truth came out and fucking had a selfie tweet on a stick or something. Like, it was.
It made no sense to me at all. Like, I know they were trying to build her up. The reason why she is brought in is because they're saying that there's a lack of.
They didn't even build her up though, did they?
No, but the reason why they're bringing her in, I was reading the reason why she's brought up is because they feel there's a lack of women on the card right now. Like, with Nikki Bella and Brie Bella gone, and Tamina's hurt, and Naomi's hurt.
Does Tamina even count as a person on the card?
But they put those people in the matches. You know what I mean? They're really lacking. So that's what I mean. Listen, I like Sasha Banks. I like Paige. I like Natalia. But there's only so much of these people you can see over and over and over again, right?
But Tamina's probably on the card for one reason.
Just
she
a job.
Hasn't murdered someone like her father. Like, fucking Snuka's murdering people and getting away with it.
Well, he's not gonna stand trial for that because he's like mentally not able to.
Oh, so that's the best thing you do. Hey, look at me. I've murdered my wife, but I'm incompetent because I can't stand trial.
Yeah, that's what's gonna. Anyway, he's too old now, so.
Yeah, he's too. Well, he's not even that old, man. Like, Snuka's like 65 or something. That's not that old.
But he's in a wheelchair, man. He got like. He doesn't have the mental capacity. He's like. He got
doesn't really give you the right to get away with murder. Well, get away with murder because you got Alzheimer's?
Well, at this point, he can't properly defend himself in court, is what it is. What they're saying.
Oh,
right?
Get a lawyer. If you clearly murdered someone.
Yeah, well, even if he did, it wouldn't put him in. I can't see him putting him in jail because he's got too many health issues.
Guess what though? Don't take him out of the Hall of Fame. Keep Roman strong.
Oh yeah. I think they took his profile off the whole WWE, but what the fuck was I saying?
Yeah. No, we're talking about the
Dana
Brooke
division. Dana Brooke, yeah.
And we're basically talking about all these guys coming in, and how like it basically went back to a casual fan going, "Who the fuck is this?" and tuning out because nobody knows who it is.
I heard a reason why Bayley's not being called up the other day. They gave a reason why, because apparently they don't believe there's another woman on the NXT roster that can carry the NXT women's division. So they want her as the face of the NXT women's division. If they call her up to the main roster, they wouldn't have anybody else.
Well, maybe that's true, and that might be reasonable, because if she's the one that's carrying, and she is carrying the brand, let's be honest.
Yeah. Like, do you know who Asuka is? I mean, nobody's going to know who Asuka is.
Nobody fucking knows who any of them are. That's the best part. So, there's like 1.4 million subscribers to WWE. And they say like 700,000 watch NXT every week. So, you gotta be honest with yourself. Like, out of the 4 or 5 million that watch Raw, 700,000 watch NXT. Which is not even a quarter of the audience. Which is hilarious to me, because they bring all these people in. But, like, the commentary team, which is directed from Vince, so it's not the commentary's fault, but they don't even explain it, man. They don't even tell you. Like, you just send them in, and you're supposed to care. Like, I'm actually supposed to give a fuck. Now, fortunately, I do give a fuck, because I actually watch wrestling. So I'm like, oh, cool, man. Like, Sami Zayn's getting an IC title shot. You honestly think, if you're some guy sitting on his couch in fucking Georgia, you're actually going to care if Sami Zayn getting a title shot? No, you don't know who he is.
Well, that's why they
He
need to
doesn't
build
even
him
have-
up, right? They need to give.
But he doesn't even have a character. He's just a guy. That he wears like he's a guy that wrestles.
That's what I mean. They don't give him a chance of knowing.
Wrestles.
They don't give a chance to, like. They need to build up a character. So, in NXT, for example, he was the guy who was like he was the underdog, right? So he kept losing his chances and he got screwed over and this and that, and he had to hurt to come back and win the NXT belt, like finally, and this kind of deal. And on the night that he won, his best friend Kevin Owens turned on him. There's a story there, right? That's a well-built story.
Well, they need to tell that story too, right?
Right? So, that's what I mean. So there's a well-built story on NXT, right? Bring him to the main roster, and you're supposed to assume that everybody watched that story. Now he's feuding with Kevin Owens. Well, not everybody's seen that, right? They need to explain it, which they did a little bit in that whole the video where they explained they were best friends and how Sami Zayn was at Kevin Owens' wedding and this kind of deal. So they did explain a little bit. But like you said, he has no character. Like, what's his character? Kevin Owens is obviously a bully, like a prize fighter, he calls himself, whatever. But he's obviously a bully who's just like, he's an asshole, right? His character is. So Sami Zayn is, I guess, his opposite. So Sami Zayn's a good guy, like, talks to everybody, has respect and this kind of deal. But they need to, like, push that a bit more, right?
That's not even really like...
If I was going to build that up, you know how I'd build that? I'd build it as Kevin Owens beats the shit out of Sami Zayn every single time he gets a hold of him.
I'd have him kill him. I'd have him kill him
Just
too. I'd have him fucking
destroy him.
destroy Zayn.
Yeah, and then have it that Zayn keeps getting back up and keeps coming back and keeps
I'd
coming
have
back.
him literally come out on Raw for like 4 weeks straight, including a pay-per-view too, by the way.
Yeah.
And I'd have him just annihilate him. Because that's going to build sympathy. Yeah. And eventually,
when
Zayn
wins,
he gets his comeuppance, he's gonna be like.
It means more. You feel it, right? I just seen this guy get beat up for the last 5 or 6 weeks. Now he's finally getting what's coming to him. Like, he finally gets his chance. He finally gets redemption over the bad guy. Makes it seem like better. Not this 50-50 booking where Owens wins one week, Zayn wins the next, then Owen wins, then Zayn wins.
Oh, they love that.
You can't get into that, man. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I can't stand it.
They love the fucking 50-50 booking.
I can't stand it, man. I know, like, oh yeah, it's on the internet and people are talking about the 50-50 booking, and it's not like I'm a goddamn booker for a show. But I know as a fan of the shows, it doesn't mean as much when they're trading wins back and forth like that. Yeah, you could say, oh, it's making one guy look weak. Yeah, you're supposed to make one guy look weak. Because then when he comes back and fights against adversity and, triumphs, it means more. Like, you know what I mean? I don't get it. For example, okay, when Hogan and Macho Man, when they were the superpowers, or whatever, right? And Elizabeth...
Mega Power.
Or the Mega Power, sorry. When Elizabeth was with them, and the whole jealousy thing where Macho thought that Elizabeth was, with Hogan, and then they split up.
Hogan was banging Liz up the ass, I'm pretty sure.
But when they split...
Real story.
But when they split up, and then Macho got Sherry, and then Sherry turned on him, and then Elizabeth come out of the crowd, slapped Sherry, got in the ring, got on her shoulders. It was that moment where everybody's like, oh, I'm so glad they're back together. Because they went through all of that downhill, the story made it look like, they had this troubled past and all this stuff, and, they broke up, and there was all these issues. And then when they finally get back together, people are like, yay, you know what I mean? Can you imagine how that story would have played out if 1 week Elizabeth leaves them, and they break up, and then next week they got back together?
Yeah.
It'd be horrendous. You remember the whole... Authority being put out of power thing with.
Oh well, which time? Like the 4th time, 5th time, 6th time? Which one?
You remember the time when they had a Survivor Series? Remember at Survivor Series?
Oh,
when Dolph
Ziggler's
Ziggler did it?
run? It made no sense at all.
Literally the next week they were back in power. Literally, like Seth Rollins brings Edge out into the ring, threatens to kill him, and says, "John Cena, you need to put him back in power." John Cena is like, okay, and they're back again. I was like, what the fuck? Remember when John Cena was forced to retire for 2 weeks? You remember that? When he was beat and had to retire, and then 2 weeks later he was on the show. I couldn't believe it. He was retired for 14 days. And just came back for no reason whatsoever. I think John Laurinaitis brought him back.
Patience, right? There's like a lack of patience.
They got scared. They got scared because they're like, oh God,
we can't. Storytelling.
We can't keep John Cena off TV for too long because people will start to lose it.
that's the best part. It's like what led to the Attitude Era was like remember the New Generation?
Yep.
And that was like a 3-4 year arduous journey to get to the Attitude Era. But during that New Generation, if you look back, people say like it was horrible and stuff. But now people look back and go, well, a lot of it made sense. So, for example, like Kevin Nash was brought in as Shawn's bodyguard. It took like 2 years before that story actually unfolded. Every single week, something else happened. So Nash was brought in, he was Diesel. 6 months later, Shawn kicks him once. Nash gets a little bit pissed off, but he ain't going to turn on him yet because it was a mistake. He kicks him a second time. Now he's like, well, hold on a second. You kicked me twice. Third time he kicks him like at Survivor Series 95 or whatever, we've got a full-blown feud. But it took like 18 months. There's no patience like that anymore. So, like, I mean, you look at all the old wrestling styles that used to happen, and that led to the Attitude. These days, like you said, 50-50 booking. It's 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. There's no, like, you don't let it settle, do you? Like, there's no chance for a storyline to progress. And even with, like, the good guys, too, like, people like Kevin Owens and stuff. Like, look at his feud with Cena. What did it last, 2 months?
Yeah, and it was 3 matches that went back and forth. Same deal.
For, like, 2 months. And then it was over. That was it. There was no... Now, it's like their obscurity. That never happened. I don't know. But we'll see. Like, I mean...
Well, you look at like...
We're in a transition, right? Like, they're in a transition.
Yeah, but you look at, like... Alright, League of Nations was a horrible failure, right? So...
Was that even... That wasn't even a gimmick, I don't think. That was the worst thing I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Yeah, so it failed horribly. So they expected big things from it, it failed. But the thing was, the breakup was so abrupt and weird that people were watching like, what? So, they lose a match. Okay, so they lost the last 10 matches in a row. They finally lose this match, and they suddenly break up because they're all mad at each other, and we're not explained why, and they just break up. So I'm like...
Because one guy... You know why they broke up?
Shouldn't they have started that
because one guy lost a match.
That's what I mean. So
that's the reason.
Shouldn't they have started this and built it up 4 weeks before that? I'm not saying they should have built it longer. Fuck no. It should have died. You know, it shouldn't even been thought up. But if they were going to break them up, they should have started and did like 4 or 5 shows. Even if they did like a Raw, SmackDown, and then kind of built it up that there's animosity and yada, yada, yada. They kicked Barrett out. They did a SmackDown, and then I'm pretty sure they did a Raw, and then I think on SmackDown they broke up and like they attacked each other. So like, wow.
All I remember was the kick Barrett. Like the kick Barrett said he was the weak link or something.
And then they broke up next week.
You pretty much assume that that's the end of it, right? Because you're like, whoa, he's a weak link. And that was it.
Next week they were broke up. All of them did. So why didn't they just all break up then? Like, I don't know. It's dumb.
I don't know.
There's no, like I said, there's no patience with stuff either, right? So once something they think is going to fails, they just don't even give it a chance. The only thing that they gave a chance and continue it that actually worked out was the New Day. Because when they first came...
That has worked out.
Well, it has in terms of like...
Well, it has. Oh, it completely has. They're selling merchandise. They're over.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we don't have to sit here, I don't think, and be... you know, like, Mark's always kind of, like, over-analyze everything, right? He's like, well, this week they weren't that funny. This week their entrance was a little off. This week the crowd never reacted the same way as they did last week. Blah, blah, blah. The horse shit.
They're still over. They're over, yeah.
On a regular basis, they're selling merchandise and they're over.
But when they first came out, they were a joke.
That's the thing, is like, Vince McMahon doesn't give a fuck if they go to Des Moines, Iowa, and they don't have the biggest reaction they had in New York last week. But the IWC will sit there and go, well, they never got a pop this week like they did last week.
New Day's going downhill.
Yeah. Oh, their gimmick's over. So, listen, New Day sells merchandise. They're over. People like them. That's all that matters. But they stuck with that, right? Like, I remember watching SummerSlam at your place last year, and that's really when I thought they took off.
Yeah.
Was that, I remember they had like a little vignette, and they won the title. I think they won the belts that night for the first time, and they've held it since then. Or a second time, maybe.
Remember we were always laughing at Big E dancing, like, when he started doing that.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Well,
they won it that night, and it was a good night, and, well, I mean, stick with him, right? Like,
but when they first debuted as the New Day, when they had the, like, the choir, and they were supposed to be like a religious group, wherever they were supposed to be, that was shit. And they were supposed to be baby faces. They were supposed to be faces at the time when they first debuted, and people were like booing them, like they're like, this is garbage. We don't want to, you know.
Yeah.
Then it was
that's like,
these guys changed it. Like they gave it a chance. They gave the gimmick to work with, and they made something out of it. They give guys stuff now, like a storyline or a story arc or whatever, and if it doesn't get over within the next week or two, it's gone. You know what I mean? And they just put the fucking kibosh on it and it's done. But then they'll like play out the League of Nations, for weeks and weeks and weeks.
They don't know how to do stable, but they can't. It's not even like so much that they can't do everything. It's like I watch it all unfold. Like we watch it unfold, Johnny. We watch it unfold. Everything that we say, or everything that we look forward to, sorry. So there's someone coming in, or there's a new guy coming in from New Japan, or someone's getting called up from NXT. We're all excited, right? We're like, well, this guy's gonna come in, but he just make a mockery of it. But then all of us get all up in arms. Like so, Anderson and Gallows have come in, right? They've won like 2 matches against the Usos, and they've had to cheat to win both of them. They've come in. The WWE has booked them so weak that I've seen anyway. I've watched them in the first like 3 weeks. They haven't won a clean match yet. They've been to beat the Usos their first week. It took them 20 minutes to beat the Usos. 20 minutes on a TV match. Like these guys were supposed to be the Bullet Club coming in. They should have squashed the Usos. I thought.
Oh yeah.
They haven't squashed anybody. They haven't even had a squash match. Or not. They haven't squashed anyone.
Maybe not put them against the Usos right away.
No, but they should have just come. But that's what you gotta do. You gotta put them up against like a team that was a tag champ, which the Usos were, and squash them. Took them 20 minutes to beat them. The next week they come out. They won the match, but they had to cheat to win. Styles for like 3 weeks now he's about to get murdered by Reigns, but they save him. So without those guys, they're coming out to perception that without them, Reigns would kill Styles.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Anderson and Gallows, Reigns would be dead, or Styles would be dead basically. So, but like I look at it, and people are like, well, why don't they bring Anderson and Gallows in as like an NWO type invasion thing, right? But like, let's be honest with each other, man. Like Hall and Nash came in. Look at their mic skills. Like, look at their personalities. They were way fucking over the top with all those. Like Hall and Nash had wicked mic skills.
Well, they're already established too, right?
Yeah, but like they were established. But like, you actually going to tell me right now that Anderson and Gallows got Scott Hall's mic skills and Kevin Nash's? No. But everybody looks back and goes, well, I don't understand why they're not bringing those guys in as top dogs. Guys, comparing them to Hall and Nash had like charisma, personality, wicked mic skills. They were already had a reputation. They were already established stars. But then, because they're not brought in as an NWO, people are upset. Like, I don't agree with the way they booked them, but at the same time, I don't think they should have pushed it to the moon either. Like, it's kind of like, they're in the middle. No, but they're making AJ look bad, I think.
They would have. I agree with you. They should have brought him in. They should have squashed some people.
They should have squashed someone, man. They got to build them. Like, Johnny, let me ask you this. After a month, they've been here about 4 weeks, right? They've been here 4 weeks in WWE?
Yeah. I say yeah.
Do they not just seem like every other tag team in WWE right now?
Well, they come off to me almost like it's kind of
every other tag team.
Well, not even. Yeah, they are every other tag team, but it comes off as kind of like.
But they should have pushed them. Yeah, but they should. So they had this wicked team that was coming in. Instead of pushing them to the moon, 4 weeks in, 4 weeks, they already look like every other fucking tag team.
Yeah.
Which means they killed them. Like, they just look like the Usos. They look like this team. Look like that team. Killed them. Big time. They never pushed them.
No. Alright, so we're probably going to end it here.
And I'm loaded.
Until next time, this has been Ringside Reality.